dating post-divorce for men in their 30s and 40s. This is a demographic of men that I've worked with quite a lot over the years, men who have been in relationships, long relationships or marriages, and they've got divorced and they've thrown back into this dating world, right? Many of them are even a similar age to me, and they have come from a school of dating's all about in person and so forth. And it can be a real difficult struggle because you've been in a relationship with one person in one dynamic and then it's come to an end. And it's like, well, what do I do now? How do I date now, right? How do I get back into dating? So where do you start? So you're dating as a post-divorce 30s, 40s men. The first thing is to really take some time to analyze and grieve the relationship you're in. Yeah. To take the learnings from that, right? Because it can be easiest to jump into another relationship or try and find someone else to fill a hole. But taking the time to intentionally grieve, whether that is you take up practices like journaling every day or embodiment practices to feel and grieve, or join a men's group, for instance. I run some men's groups in Hackney in London, right? Is taking some time to be with the feelings, and it's difficult. Right? It's difficult and uncomfortable, but it's important because if you don't, those feelings and emotions will drive you and push you to seek connection with other people when you're not ready to, and just to fill a void. Yeah. And I see this with a lot of guys. They're just like, oh my God, I've finished this relationship. I'm now free, and they just want to find another woman. Right. So it's important to take the time to intentionally grieve and feel. Again, coaching, therapy, men's groups, journaling, even just taking loads of questions and going through them and writing about them each day. Various questions that are important for you to start to understand yourself better, understand what went wrong in the relationship is really important. And if your reason for what we're in a relationship is it's her fault, if she was different, it would all be fine. That is not a useful answer. That's not an answer that's going to help you grow as a man. If you're on good terms with your ex-partner, sitting down with them and being like, where did we go wrong? What's my part, right? Or sitting down with some questions about where did you neglect your partner? Where did you not show up? Where did you not love her deeply? Where did you not create safety? Where did you not create enjoyment and fun? You can go through questions like that and you can really start to see what your part was. That will help you move forward, and also in a later bit, what I'm going to talk about is how you can create better relationships going forward. So it's understanding yourself, becoming grounded in this inner world and understanding the inner world and understanding what caused the relationship breakdown in the first place, right? Even if it's cheating, right? Even if your partner cheated on you, right? There is some information in there about why they cheated. People don't like this idea. People cheat often for some reason for themselves, and sometimes they cheat because there's something lacking in the relationship. Sometimes they're opportunist cheaters. But the number of times men have come to me and worked with me because their partners have cheated on them and they're making the relationship work, and there's been a reason. It's something that they're not doing, they're not supplying, they're not creating, right? And it's information, it's data. So another thing that I recommend doing is to understand your attachment style. I've got a lot of episodes about attachment styles: anxious, avoidant, secure. Those are the regular three. There's some subshoots within them, because this will help you understand how, what happened in your relationship, but also moving forward, right? So understand your attachment style. Take some time to look. There's plenty of quizzes around. Listen to some podcasts about it. As in, a simple thing is, do you find yourself, when it comes to a relationship, being anxious and worried about receiving love or being abandoned, you might be anxious. If in love, you find yourself pushing love away, pushing partners away, needing space, wanting to do your own thing, not expressing your emotions and feelings and so forth, the chances are you might be more avoidant. But it's not as simple as that. And obviously there's disorganized as well, which is a mix of the two. So take some time to find a quiz or start to learn about attachment more, right? Like I said, I've got a lot of podcast episodes about that. The next thing I always recommend to men do is to start building a life that reflects the person you've now become, the values you're now starting to embody. Yeah. Because it's so easy to just, when you're in a relationship, you're in a marriage, your life becomes a bit atrophied, right? You see your friends less, you work out less, you do things alone less, you do things for yourself less. And a lot of men come out of a relationship and their relations have been built within the kind of their female partners' friendship groups. So they might have lost a few friends along the way, right? depending on what has occurred, you've broken up with your ex-partner, your ex-wife, and all the male friends you had were her female friends' husbands or partners. So now you're feeling a little bit alone, right? So the key here is building a life for yourself, right? What are the things you really enjoyed doing before you were married, right? What are some of the hobbies you had before, right? It's a good place to start. What are some hobbies that you could be interested in, right? Whether that's like dancing or some sort of exercise, CrossFit, or I'm just like making stuff up that my clients do, acting, amateur dramatics, cold water swimming, triathlons, like whatever it is, you could be interested in it. Go try it out. Go try it out. If you've got time, go try it out, right? These are things that a lot of the men I've worked with start to get involved in. They find community. And that's an important thing. Involving yourself in community, not to find someone else to sleep with and date again, just to be involved with people and have a place to go and place to connect with other people. Because it's very easy when you're post-divorce to just want to jump into a relationship, right? And also an important thing is to reconnect with friends. Like maybe there's some old friends you haven't seen for a while, reconnect with them. Making new friends through paddle. I've got a client of mine, he might even be listening to this. He plays a huge amount of paddle and it's been a great way for him to make new friends. You've got to involve yourself in life again, right? Really important to do. So now you've done all those things and you're thinking about dating now. Really key piece, dating with intention, right? You can't just date from the position of like, I am single now, so I should date. No, you need to have some intention about it, right? To understand what you're looking for, right? It might just be that you want something casual, and that's okay, right? It's okay to want something casual, as long as you be honest about it, right? Be honest about it. It's like getting clear on, maybe if you do want to look for a partner, you've taken a bit of time to grieve, as we talked about, to feel what's there and so forth. And you start to look at like, what's the values in a person that you want? What are the nice to haves that you want? What are the non-negotiables, right? I have some questions about non-negotiables and relationship desires and wants and needs. I actually just gave that to the a men's program I'm running right now, Breaking the Chains of Avoidance for Avoidant Men, that's finishing up soon. And if you want those questions, just email me and tell me, ask me for the non-negotiables questions and I send them over to you to get a deeper understanding of your non-negotiables, your desires and wants in relationship and what's beneath them, because that's also a really important aspect to understand. Yeah. Because what you're trying to avoid here is just using someone else to fill your emotional void and hold your ex has left in your life. Yeah. And you want to be, if you start dating with intention, you want to be transparent, but you also don't want to like be trauma dumping, and you don't want to be like, it's never attractive when someone is really belittling and really critical of their ex-partner, right? It's never attractive. You might have a bit of a like trauma bonding session with someone else who's got an ex, but like it's not a good look. I've sat from across the tables on dates where a woman's like, my ex, he's a piece of shit. Like he was like this and he did this and da 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 da. And, to me, it shows a couple of things. First of all, you haven't moved on, right? And two, you're the sort of person that puts up with that sort of behavior, It also says to me like, okay, you've got boundaries issues. So if you have boundary issues, you don't hold boundaries, you don't respect boundaries. That's usually the way it goes for people, right? People with poor boundaries don't like to hear that. But this is the key. It's like actually you don't need to tell someone all about the ins and outs of your ex past relationship. You can say it didn't work out, some things that happened that, I'm not proud of and she's not proud of, but it's done. I'm moving forward from that, if you want to start with that. But dropping all of this in your first couple of dates is unnecessary. Yeah. And when it comes to dating as well, a lot of the time men are like, okay, what do I do? Do I go on dating apps? Do I meet people in person? Like, how do I meet anybody? It feels really awkward. It feels really weird. I don't know how to date. No one knows how to date. Everybody's making it up. Yeah. And even, me, when I was dating, I was just making up as going along and seeing what worked. So it's actually to go out and look at it from this point of view. You're not dating. You're just meeting new people and seeing who you get along with. Because that just takes the weight off of dating a lot, right? I'm just meeting new people and seeing if we get along. And just look at it from that point, right? Have some boundaries around the dating apps, for instance, especially if you're kind of lean towards being more anxious and more kind of desperate to be in a relationship. Having boundaries like only spending 10 minutes a day not checking your phone 100 times to see if someone's replied, right? Because that creates more and more anxiety for you, right? Very important. Keep it chill, right? Especially in the beginning. Don't put too much weight on it, right? Really important you do that. And then you need to date from a place of wholeness and not emptiness, right? And this is why I think that therapy and like introspective work is so important, because if you're going to dating kind of this emptiness, like, please love me, please fill me up, please give me attention because I'm a divorced man, or, oh my God, no one's going to love me because I'm divorced and I've got kids. You're dating from this point of emptiness, of shame, of loneliness, right? Of fear of being alone. And that in itself is unattractive, but it's also not true, right? Those things are not true, the stories you tell us. So it's like getting clear on all of this beforehand, right? And asking yourself, like, why am I dating? Am I doing it because I really want to meet a partner and a connection? Or am I doing it to prove my worth? Or am I doing it because I feel lonely? Am I doing it to fill up time? And just get honest with yourself. Are you doing it for external validation? You want some women to chase you and make you feel attractive again, right? Just be honest with yourself about why you're dating, right? And again, if there's some of those insecurities and so forth, speaking to someone, getting some support is a really good idea. So you've started to date, you got your life together, you understand yourself a lot more. You need to also start looking at relationship and starting creating a new blueprint for relationships. So you don't just recreate the relationship you had before. We talked about non-negotiables and so forth, but it's also looking at, like, what do you want the relationship to be like? What are the values that you want a new relationship to be like if you were entering into one? Get some clarity on that. The values, the traits, the sort of things you do together, the way you talk to each other, how you discuss difficult problems, These are the ways you have to bring into relationships. So it's like starting to understand that as well. While also, is another point, not second point, a different point, is like knowing that there's going to be emotional triggers and unexpected feelings that come up. Yeah. You're going to have to navigate rejection. You're going to navigate loneliness. You're going to have to navigate all these very normal things in modern dating. And this is where having community and friends, people to lean on, not making dating your sole purpose, having other things in your life becomes really important, because otherwise you become a bit obsessive about it and you're putting all your attention there, right? And this feeling of loneliness and not being able to like self-soothe or create confidence alone. It's really important that you understand there's going to be difficult moments along this journey, and also believe in your resilience. I speak to a lot of men who just don't believe they have the resilience to deal with heartbreak and pain. It's like believing in your own resilience. You've got through hard things before, you can get through it again. Dating is not going to be easy in that it's not going to be, you go on 10 dates and you meet someone, because relationships are like a valuable asset. And with any valuable asset, it takes a lot of effort and so forth to find them, and to invest in them. It takes a lot of energy to invest in them, like any valuable asset. Like buying a home, you put a lot of thought into buying a home. It takes years sometimes, right? You don't just make a decision after a few dates. You might visit, tens or hundreds of houses before you choose one. It's a bit like that with relationships. So it takes some time. So you're going to have to work through some of these feelings of rejection and not good enough. And it's going to be cyclical. Things are going to come up again and again sometimes, right? And that's why having external support is useful, because when you're on your own, you'll just spiral in your own thinking. You'll get into thought loops and thought cycles and spirals, and you won't be able to get out because you've got no new information coming into you. No one to question that variable points upon those thought loops. And then I think I finish up with like co-parenting and dating. And that can be a really difficult thing, because at some point, maybe if you start dating someone, you need to tell your old partner you've met somebody. And this is something to do, you're going to have to do it at some point. And it's just understanding when a good point to do that is. And that's going to be different for each person. And how you do that's going to be important. You don't want to do it from a point of kind of like trying to stick it in their face. Like, look at me, I'm dating again, because managing that co-parent relationship, if you need to, is also really important. Co-parenting is so important, not to use your children as battle tools or as to weaponize your children, right? Because that becomes a really toxic way to show your kids how to act. Yeah. So it's just like managing all these things and being a sort of model parent as well. I see too many men fall into wanting to take revenge on their ex-partners, even subtly by the people they date, or telling their ex-partner they've met someone when it's really unnecessary, and it causes a lot of hurt and create a dynamic that's really unhealthy. So the key is to be aware, look deep into yourself after the divorce starts to happen. Why did it happen? What's your part? Taking responsibility, start to heal some of that work, still some of those beliefs that might have hung around since childhood, doing some work on those, creating community, creating a life that is enjoyable for you without relationship, getting back into dating, doing it consciously, doing it from a place of awareness without dumping on other people, and also being aware of what you really want a relationship to be in the future. Yeah. And thinking about that co-parent relationship. These have been the really vital aspects of the men that I've worked with one-to-one when they've come out of divorce, right? And getting support, like I said, is can be really important, because you might be the only person you know who is dating and everyone else you still know is married, right? So having someone who's well-versed and skilled in dating is really valuable. So if you're looking for some support, just reach out, work with people one-to-one. That's all I say for today. Ciao, ciao.